All women are different, but they are all women. This video is androcentric from a men's point of view and is presented as opinion, commentary, and debate. Expressing opinions is not violence. These are ideas to challenge, question, and argue in public, because classical liberalism relies on the First Amendment for its dialectic. If you are a feminist, then consider this. If patriarchy truly existed as claimed, feminism could not. And if all men are trash and women are equal to men, then what are we to conclude? Women will die for their children, men will die for their wives and children, and God chose to die for all mankind. Authority rolls up with responsibility. If this framing of facts offends you, click off to a cute cat video. Proceeding further will expose you to gamma bias and criticism directed at ideas, claims, institutions, not at any individual's virtue or dignity. Our method follows the 7 liberal arts. The trivium, grammar, logic, rhetoric, and the quadrivium, arithmetic, geometry, music, and astronomy. And the transcendentals, the good, true, and beautiful. If this framework is not for you, feel free to exit now. It's no disgrace. Women are wonderful. God bless America. Men are great. Multiculturalism, cultural enrichment, the cause of all wars and grooming gangs, written by Conrad Riker. Available now, links in description. Women don't fight fair and never have. How evolution lies and the Karen playbook turn modern men into prey. You think she's innocent until proven guilty. Try this. 73% of school teachers are women and 92% of workplace false harassment claims are filed by women. Yet we still treat female aggression like a myth whispered by misogynists. I watched a woman get pushed onto subway tracks in New York while 8 men filmed it. One construction worker jumped down to save her, the rest. Too busy virtue signaling on Instagram to risk looking toxic. Meanwhile, the CDC reports men die by suicide 3.5 times more than women, but when a man does act, like Daniel Penny restraining a psychotic homeless man, the entire feminist legal complex descends like vultures on roadkill. They don't want heroes, they want eunuchs. Feminism isn't about equality, it's about immunity. Women get 90% of no-fault divorces, keep the kids, the house, and half your future earnings, and then post self-love reels while you sleep in your Honda Civic. The family court isn't a legal system, it's a gynocentric loot drop, and don't even mention cuckoldry. Studies in current biology show 1 to 3% of Western children are misattributed. That's millions of men raising genetic strangers. While priests of progress preach trust is toxic masculinity, wake up. The left didn't weaponize theory, they weaponized you by convincing you that restraint in the face of chaos is virtue. It's not, it's suicide dressed as manners. I've seen a man let his girlfriend scream in his face for 45 minutes while he apologized for existing. Then she dumped him for being emotionally unavailable. That's not love, that's psychological torture with a smile. The West was built by men who acted, not men who waited to be allowed to act. So ask yourself, when the test comes, the shove, the lie, the ambush, will you be the one on the platform filming, or the one in the trench doing what must be done? The mirage of female innocence. Women are angels. My ex once told me while she filed for full custody, emptied our joint account, and then posted a tearful selfie captioned, "Surviving my abuser." I had forgotten to take out the trash that week. She didn't. She remembered to destroy me. And the court believed her because the myth of female innocence isn't just alive, it's armed, funded, and sitting in HR, family court, and the editorial boards of every major newspaper. Let's start with the numbers, since truth still exists in the realm of data for now. The FBI's uniform crime reports show women commit about 14% of violent crime. That sounds low until you realize violence is defined only as physical acts. Emotional sabotage, reputation assassination, and social exclusion are excluded. But ask any man falsely accused by a scorned woman if that's violence. Ask the guy who came home to find his dog poisoned and a note saying, "You'll never find love again." That's not emotional abuse, that's warfare with eyeliner. A 2015 University of Oregon study confirmed what any high school boy who survived the cafeteria already knew. Women engage in relational aggression at 3 times the rate of men. Gossip, silent treatment, social sabotage. The kind of warfare where the victim doesn't even know he's at war until he's jobless, friendless, and bankrupt. Men punch women, poison the well. Evolution made women physically weaker, so nature gave them sharper tongues and colder hearts, not because they're evil, but because strategy favors survival. Pretending otherwise isn't chivalry, it's suicide. You want proof? Watch Going Girl. David Fincher's masterpiece isn't fiction. It's a public service announcement. Amy Dunn fakes her own murder, frames her husband, and wins, because no one suspects a woman of such cold precision. People react with shock, not because it's unbelievable, but because it's real. We've all encountered someone like Amy. Maybe she's your sister's best friend. Maybe she's your boss. Maybe she's already in your house, quietly turning your kids against you while sobbing about co-parenting. And don't get me started on feminism. Feminism didn't liberate women, it armed their worst impulses. It took the evolutionary strategy of indirect aggression and legitimized it. Now a woman can call a man a toxic male, get him fired, and receive a standing ovation on LinkedIn. Meanwhile, if a man defends himself, even with words, he's labeled a misogynist, a predator, or worse, a red-pilled truth-teller. Feminism didn't demand equality. It demanded immunity for women to lie, cheat, destroy, and still be called survivors. Take the Karen Reed case in 2023. Woman accused of murdering her boyfriend. But instead of grieving, she launched a media campaign portraying herself as the true victim. Candlelight vigils, press conferences, a GoFundMe. The police treated her like royalty until the evidence started pointing at her. But even then, half the country still believes she was framed. Why? Because we've been brainwashed to see women as incapable of malice. We'd sooner believe in alien abduction than female premeditation. This isn't new. The Victorians invented the angel in the house, a literary trope that painted women as pure, passive, and perfect. It wasn't art. It was social engineering, a way to keep men docile, guilt-ridden, and financially enslaved. And it worked. Men still apologize when a woman drops something. Men still pay for dates. Men still get arrested for cyberstalking when they ask why their kids don't know their own father's name. The remedy, Aristotle. Not therapy, not TED Talks. Virtue ethics, judge actions, not gender. A lie is a lie, whether it comes from a vagina or a Viking. Courage, justice, temperance, prudence. These don't have a uterus. We need to stop treating women like fragile glass angels and start holding them to human standards. Because the moment we do, the whole feminist propaganda machine collapses under the weight of its own hypocrisy. The myth of female innocence isn't just false, it's deadly. It gets men killed in family court. It lets grooming gangs operate with impunity because women are victims. It excuses female criminality while criminalizing male self-preservation. This isn't about hating women, it's about loving truth. And if you can't handle the truth, maybe you should go back to believing in unicorns and equalist fairy tales. I'd rather stand with Schopenhauer, who called women childish, narrow-minded, and incapable of justice. Not out of malice, but observation. He saw through the veil, so did Nietzsche, so did Molyneux. They weren't sexist, they were sane, and in a world that calls sanity toxic, the only moral act left is to speak the unspeakable. Women are not inherently good. They are human, and humans are dangerous. Wake up. The angel has fangs. I stood in that school hallway, not as a protester, but as a father. Someone who believed naively that reason still had a place in institutions meant to serve children. I thought facts mattered, that biology is not bigotry, that silence isn't consent, and that a man questioning a surreal spectacle shouldn't be treated like an armed intruder. But the system wasn't built to listen. It was built to silence. And in that moment, I realized we're not dealing with a policy failure. We're facing a full-spectrum ideological invasion, one that has already captured the gatekeepers of education, emotion, and truth itself. Praxis as cultural sabotage. I watched a father get escorted out of his child's school by two rent-a-cops because he asked why drag queens were reading to second graders about the hips on the drag queen, go swish, swish, swish. He wasn't yelling. He didn't threaten, he said. This is inappropriate. My son doesn't need glitter and pronouns shoved down his throat before he learns long division. The principal called it hate. Not confusion, not disagreement, hate. That word now means any man who defends biological reality or parental authority. And that moment wasn't an anomaly, it was a demonstration. A public ritual sacrifice of fatherhood on the altar of performative inclusion. They don't want dialogue, they want surrender, and they've rigged the system so that every time a man opens his mouth to reason, he's labeled a bigot before he can finish his sentence. Let's talk numbers, because facts are the kryptonite of lies. 73% of public school teachers in the US are women. That's not diversity, that's systemic capture. It means your son spends 7 hours a day being emotionally conditioned by a cadre of feminized bureaucrats whose primary metric of success isn't logic, truth, or excellence, it's feelings. They reward empathy over rigor, tears over tenacity, and compliance over courage. I've seen boys, bright, curious, energetic boys, labeled disruptive because they fidget, argue, or ask why, while girls who cry during a pop quiz get hugged and extra time. This isn't education. It's emotional alchemy, turning male vitality into pathology and female fragility into virtue, and it starts young. By 5th grade, boys are already conditioned to believe that silence is safety, and that speaking up means risking humiliation or punishment. This didn't happen by accident, it was engineered. The Frankfurt School didn't start with tanks or revolutions. They started with seminars. Max Horkheimer, Theodor Adorno, Herbert Marcuse. They looked at Western civilization and said, we can't beat capitalism, so we'll poison its culture. They shifted Marxism from the factory floor to the nursery. From economics to education, from class struggle to identity warfare. Their weapon? Praxis, a term most people mispronounce and misunderstand. Praxis isn't theory. It's not philosophy, it's ideology weaponized into action. It's the fusion of belief and behavior designed to destroy from within. Gramsci called it hegemony. Lukács called it consciousness raising. I call it cultural arson. They didn't storm the gates. They got tenure, then spent decades redefining truth, morality, and masculinity as forms of oppression. And now look at what they've built. Netflix peddling gender revolution like it's science, when it's really just hormone propaganda for preteens. They parade confused kids in front of cameras, calling puberty dysphoria and surgery liberation. They don't show you the studies where 85% of gender dysphoric children desist by adulthood. They don't tell you that cross-sex hormones lead to osteoporosis, infertility, and lifelong dependency on pharmaceuticals. No, they sell it as bravery, as love. Meanwhile, real bravery, like a father standing up to a school board, is labeled abuse. They've inverted everything. They call it progress, but it's regression masked as revolution. This is the Trojan bureaucracy. Leftists don't overthrow institutions. They occupy them. They get credentials, climb ladders, then quietly replace logic with feelings, truth with narrative, and merit with victimhood. They don't need violence when they control HR, tenure committees, and curriculum boards. One by one, they've turned schools, courts, media, and even churches into ideological enclaves where dissent is not debated, it's cancelled. They use emotional blackmail like a scalpel. If you don't support this, you must hate children. If you question this policy, you're a bigot. It's not argument. It's blackmail dressed as morality. I've studied Saint Paul's armor of God, not for theology, but for strategy. Stand against the schemes of the devil. That's not metaphor, that's intellectual warfare, the belt of truth, the breastplate of righteousness, the shield of faith. These aren't spiritual platitudes, they're cognitive defenses against lies, because the enemy isn't just out there. It's in the classroom, the courtroom, the pediatrician's office. It's in the way your son is taught that strength is toxic, that discipline is trauma, that disagreeing with a woman is harassment. They've redefined abuse to mean anything a man does that makes a woman uncomfortable. So when a father sets a curfew, it's control. When he corrects his daughter's boyfriend, it's intimidation. When he refuses to call a man a woman, it's violence. This is not justice. This is the systematic dismantling of male authority under the banner of equality. And it's working. Look at family court. Men lose custody 80% of the time, even when there's no abuse. Judges assume women are naturally better parents, despite data showing fathers are less likely to neglect or abuse. Or check the suicide rates. Men die by suicide 3.5 times more often than women, yet mental health programs are geared toward female emotional expression, not male resilience. Or notice how police now arrest fathers for coercive control if they argue too much, while ignoring real predators like the grooming gangs in Rotherham, where over 1,400 children were raped. And authorities stayed silent because the perpetrators were Muslim and the victims were white working-class girls. Why? Because intersectionality values identity politics over justice. Protecting the narrative is more important than protecting children. This is where Jonathan Haidt's moral foundations theory cuts through the fog. Liberals prioritize care and fairness. Conservatives value loyalty, authority, sanctity, and liberty. Leftists exploit this imbalance by framing every conservative value as oppressive loyalty. Nationalism, authority, patriarchy, sanctity, religious bigotry. They've turned the virtues that built Western civilization into vices. But here's the truth. A society that despises authority collapses into chaos. A culture that mocks loyalty breeds betrayal. One that ridicules sanctity loses its soul. And we're living in that collapse now. So what do? We fight back with counter-praxis, not rage, not violence, strategy. Men must infiltrate institutions, law, media, education, not to tear them down, but to restore truth, beauty, and order. Become teachers who teach logic, not feelings. Lawyers who defend parental rights. Journalists who expose the lies. We must re-enshrine the trivium, grammar, logic, rhetoric, not as dusty relics, but as weapons. Grammar to name things correctly. Logic to dismantle false arguments. Rhetoric to win hearts and minds. We must raise sons who are not afraid to think, speak, and stand even when the world calls them haters, because the living spirit of Western civilization wasn't built by cowards. It was forged by men who value truth over comfort, duty over desire, and courage over consensus. And if we don't reclaim it, it will be buried under a mountain of glitter, pronouns, and lies. I've seen it too many times. Men standing still when they should be moving, silent when they should be speaking, lying to themselves most of all. I used to wonder why. Then I stopped wondering and started seeing the pattern. We've been disarmed not by force, but by guilt. Guilt for being strong, for acting, for daring to impose order on chaos. They taught us to hesitate, then called that hesitation empathy. But I learned the hard way: when a man does not act, he is not a man. He is a ghost haunting his own life. The man test: physical readiness and moral clarity. A man is not what he says he is. A man is what he does when the moment demands it. I was in a bar in Chicago when it happened. A woman screamed. A man had her pinned against the wall near the restroom. Her drink spilled. Her eyes darted, not at the bouncer, not at the bartender, but at the dozen men standing like marble statues, phones already out filming. One guy, clean-cut, in a Patagonia vest, the type who brags about emotional intelligence on Instagram, actually took 2 steps back. Then he turned and ordered another IPA. Later, I heard him bragging at a party. I called the cops right away. Bullshit. I was there. He did nothing, and he wasn't alone. That night, 10 men saw it. 0 moved. The woman was rescued by a drunk ex-Marine who stumbled out of the bathroom, shoved the guy into a booth, and said, "You touch her again, I break your spine." He didn't film it. He didn't care about social media. He acted. That's the difference between men and boys. This happens all the time. In 2022 in New York, a woman was pushed onto subway tracks by someone she didn't know. 8 onlookers stood above, holding up their phones, recording like predators circling prey. One man even asked, "Is this blowing up online?" It took a construction worker, Daniel Rodriguez, in work boots and a safety helmet to leap down, haul her up, and get her to safety. The press ignored who he was. They showed no interest in him, but they spent weeks picking apart the attacker, his emotional state, his past pain, his issues. Where was the outrage over the inaction of the 8 people who did nothing? Because in the current cultural framework, courage only counts if it fits the approved narrative. A straight white man stepping in, that's labeled dangerous. A black man rescuing a white woman from death, that's treated as awkward. But a woman shouting while men document it, that's treated like viral material. We've been conditioned to hesitate. Schools teach boys they're predators if they raise their voice. HR departments train men to retreat when conflict arises. The narrative is clear. Manhood equals danger, passivity equals virtue. But nature laughs at this rot. Women don't mate with pacifists. They don't want men who film assaults. They want men who stop them. Study after study shows women are attracted to men who display protective behavior, even when it involves physical risk. Yet we train men to suppress that instinct, then wonder why women cheat, why marriages collapse, why so many men die alone. It's not a mystery. It's Darwinism with a feminist twist. Eliminate the protectors and the species weakens. Consider the Jordan Neely situation. He was without stable housing, struggling with mental health issues, yelling on a subway train. Witnesses say he moved aggressively toward riders. Reports confirm he'd acted violently in the past. Then Daniel Penny, a 24-year-old former Marine, used a neck restraint to stop the threat. Neely lost consciousness and later died. News outlets labeled it a killing. Demonstrators demanded Penny be punished. The prosecutor filed manslaughter charges. But what gets buried? Neely had a record of aggression. Police had previously arrested him for strangling a woman in 2017. He'd made threats to others on transit. He wasn't just a passive figure, he posed real risk. Yet the story twisted. The person who intervened was treated as the offender. The person endangering others was recast as a symbol. This is the new moral reversal, where trying to protect others can land you in jail, and doing nothing is praised as calm. Hollywood knows the truth, they just won't admit it. The Marksman 2022, Liam Neeson plays a grieving rancher who defends a child from cartel killers. Critics panned it. They called it regressive, toxic masculinity. But men flock to it. Why? Because deep down, every red-pilled man knows when evil comes, you don't call a committee. You act. You protect. You fight. The film was rejected by elites because it celebrates what they fear. The autonomous, decisive, lethal male. The kind of man who doesn't ask permission to do what's right. I call it the intervention threshold. The point at which a man must override social programming and act, even if it costs him everything. Most men never reach it. They freeze, they rationalize. Not my problem. I might get sued. What if I'm wrong, but the soul knows? The man who hesitates, he carries that failure like a stone in his gut. It doesn't matter if no one else knows, he knows, and it eats him alive. That's why male suicide rates are soaring. Not because of lack of mental health care, that's the feminist dodge. It's because men are disconnected from their purpose. We were born to protect, to provide, to prevail. Strip that away, and you create hollow shells who die by their own hand. Marcus Aurelius didn't sit around debating ethics. He said, waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one, that's the antidote. Not therapy, not self-help journals. Action train in Krav Maga. Learn first aid. Walk with awareness, not fear, but readiness. Know that if a child is drowning, you jump in. If a woman is being beaten, you intervene. And if the state prosecutes you for it, then you become the martyr, but at least you died as a man. The warrior ethos isn't about war, it's about daily courage. It's choosing to act when every fiber of feminized society tells you to retreat. It's knowing that real virtue isn't not getting involved, it's getting involved when it matters. The world doesn't need more cowards with cameras. It needs men with hands willing to grab evil by the throat. And if you won't, then don't pretend you're a man. You're just another spectator at the slaughter. I used to think a woman's mood swings were signs of deep emotional wounds, until I realized they were weapons. I spent years therapizing myself into compliance, believing that if I just listened harder, apologized quicker, or showed more empathy, she'd finally be happy. But happiness wasn't the goal. Control was. And the moment I stopped reacting, when I stopped chasing after silence, stopped justifying myself for imagined sins, that's when the real test began. That's when I learned she wasn't broken. I was the one being tested. Unmasking the game. Female volatility and male resilience. I once watched a man beg his girlfriend not to leave on his knees, voice cracking, after she'd ignored him for 3 days over a text he didn't reply to in 2 hours. She didn't even look up from her phone. She just said, "Prove you care," and walked away. 2 days later, she texted a heart emoji. He lit up like a lottery winner. This isn't love, this is training, and women aren't broken. They are operating exactly as evolution designed, testing, probing, filtering. The weak men panic, the strong men stay silent. That's the game, and if you didn't know you were playing, you already lost. Sherry Argov's Why Men Love Bitches isn't a self-help book. It's a training manual for emotional warfare. Be a bitch, she says, because men love unpredictability. She admits women should withhold affection to increase male investment. That's not advice, that's a confession. It's like finding a memo from the enemy war room. Yet women's magazines treat it like wisdom, therapists nod along. And men buy into it, thinking if they just chase harder, she'll stay. But she doesn't want commitment, she wants proof you'll endure chaos. And if you flinch, you're out. David Buss's research across 37 cultures found that 68% of women admit to sudden mood shifts to test a man's commitment. 68%, not trauma, not mental illness strategy. One woman told researchers, "If he gets upset when I'm cold, he's not strong enough." Another said, "I want to see if he'll still text me after I ignore him for a day." This isn't dysfunction, this is Darwinism in action. Women are programmed to test male resilience because in ancestral environments, weak men got you killed. Now, the test still runs, same software, new world. But now, weak men go to therapy and are told she's hurting, be gentle. No, she's testing, and your job isn't to heal her, it's to pass. I saw a short scene from The Gift 2015, where Jason Bateman's character starts to come apart, because a woman shifts kind, then aloof, then affectionate, then icy. He fixates, he follows her, he crumbles. And viewers assume she's playing games. Wrong. She's acting like a regular person. The issue isn't her, it's him. He can't handle emotional shifts. He ties his value to her behavior. That's why he falls apart. The film frames it as suspense, but really it's a raw look at how men today fracture under pressure. Look at Rachel from Friends. She's celebrated, quirky, desirable, funny. But watch closely. She dumps Ross, ghosts him, comes back, demands commitment, then leaves again when he flinches. She runs a psychological gauntlet and he fails every round, and we call her complicated. No. She's running the program, and Ross, he's the beta male archetype. Emotional, reactive, desperate for harmony. He doesn't need therapy. He needs training in indifference, in frame control, in knowing that her moods are not about him. But instead, he gets patted on the back for being sensitive. Meanwhile, real men are built in silence, not tears. The Gottman Institute studied thousands of couples and found that the biggest predictor of divorce isn't conflict, it's whether the man panics during it. Women can scream, cry, storm out. The relationship survives if the man stays calm. Not because he's suppressing emotion, but because he's anchored. The weak man thinks if only she were consistent. The strong man knows she's not supposed to be. Her volatility is the test. Your calm is the answer, and don't give me this emotional complexity garbage. That's feminist propaganda. Women aren't complex, they're designed to be unpredictable. It's not a flaw, it's a feature. Just like a lion tests the herd for weak calves, women test men for weak frames. And modern therapy culture, it's a weapon against men. It medicalizes female behavior and pathologizes male strength. You're toxic, they say, because you don't cry when she leaves. No, I'm stable, there's a difference. Look at the data. Men commit suicide 3.5x more than women. Not because they're emotionally stunted, but because they've been stripped of purpose, dignity, and truth. They're told to listen more, empathize, validate, while women walk away from marriages, keep the kids, get the house, and get alimony. 80% of divorce filings are initiated by women. 70% of child custody goes to mothers, even when fathers are fit. And if a man dares to speak up online, he gets doxxed, fired, arrested. But if a woman calls him a pig, that's her truth. This isn't equality, it's genocracy. And don't get me started on abortion. Over 60 million since Roe v. Wade. A woman can kill her child days before birth, but if a man refuses to pay child support, he goes to jail. Try that logic in any other context. You'd be laughed out of court, but in our upside-down world, it's sacred. Why? Because female emotion is treated as law, male logic, suppressed. The remedy, stoicism. Not as a philosophy, as armor. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you respond. When she goes cold, don't chase. When she punishes you with silence, don't beg. Sit in silence with her, let her feel the weight of her own game. Because the only power she has is the power you give, and the minute you stop reacting, the game ends." You win. I've trained men to do this. One guy's girlfriend gave him the silent treatment for 48 hours. Instead of texting, he went to the gym, cooked a steak, posted a photo of it with the caption, "Peace is free," and slept like a rock. She texted the next morning, "Why aren't you mad?" He replied, "I'm not mad. I'm just living." She met him for coffee that day, not because he won her back, but because she realized he couldn't be lost. And that's the only thing that matters. The West wasn't built by men who sought harmony. It was built by men who endured storms, who stood at Thermopylae, who sailed into fog, who faced dragons and said, "Try me." Not with rage, but with calm. That's the spirit we've lost. And it won't return until men stop worshiping female emotion like it's divine and start mastering their own. You think you're reading an essay? No, you're undergoing spiritual surgery. I just cut out the rot, the lies fed to you since kindergarten. The soft poison of female fragility, the bureaucratic slow-motion execution of men in family courts, where 94% of custody goes to mothers regardless of fitness, the censorship of fathers who speak truth, the 80% of suicides that are men, because we're told to suffer silently, while women post their breakdowns as empowerment. Wake up. You've been lied to so long, you mistake the cage for comfort. I didn't write this to entertain you. I wrote it to resurrect you. Every time a man reads that he should check his privilege while paying child support to a woman who won't let him see his kids, that's praxis, the enemy's foot on your neck, disguised as social justice. You know, the real statistic they never teach. Sperm counts have dropped 60% in 40 years while male suicide rates climb. Not because testosterone is toxic, but because purpose is illegal now. They want you docile, drugged, and dependent, like the guy in HR who watched his coworker get falsely accused and did nothing, then justified it with "I didn't want drama." Drama? You traded your soul for peace and called it maturity. Pathetic. But not you, not anymore. You now see the game. The sudden mood swings, the weaponized tears, the social sabotage, the way women use victimhood like a flamethrower, while men are prosecuted for looking angry in a Zoom meeting. You see it because you're no longer blind. You've passed the test just by finishing this. You didn't click away when it got uncomfortable. You stayed. That's the difference between sheep and shepherds. The world is burning, but the fire reveals who's made of steel. You are, go rebuild, go protect, go speak. And when they call you toxic, smile, because you know the real toxicity is silence in the face of lies. The West isn't lost, it's just waiting for men like you to wake the hell up and take it back. And now the sponsored book introduction, Multiculturalism, Cultural Enrichment, the Cause of All Wars and Grooming Gangs. You're holding a weapon, not a gun or a knife, but something far deadlier, the truth. My name is Conrad Riker, and I've spent decades watching the West commit cultural suicide with a smile. I've seen Rotherham girls raped by gangs authorities called culturally sensitive. I've watched boys expelled from college over feminist lies while real predators hid behind progressive slogans. I've tracked the data they bury. 84% of UK grooming gang convictions involve South Asian men, courts coddling honor killers, and schools teaching white kids to hate their ancestors. This isn't theory. It's blood on the floor. This book is for men who still give a damn, men who'd rather fight than kneel. If you're content watching your sons get drugged with gender ideology, your daughters assaulted by imported barbarism, or your heritage erased by globalists, stop reading now. Go binge Netflix, collect stamps. This isn't for you, for the rest. What you call multiculturalism is a con tolerance, is the gaslighting tactic of predators. Feminism isn't about equality, it's about power. We'll dissect Sweden's no-go zones, Germany's censored rape stats, and the Marxist playbook corrupting every institution. You'll learn how courts strip fathers of their children, how corporations profit from your weakness, and why Islam's demographic jihad is on your doorstep. This isn't despair porn, it's a field manual. Hungary's crushing immigration, Poland's resisting LGBT colonialism. You'll see how to boycott woke capital, rebuild parallel economies, and reject the beta male death cult. The data's here, the case studies are real. The solutions work. They'll call you racist, bigot, fascist. Let them. Your ancestors built civilizations with calluses and conviction, not pronouns and apologies. The West won't be saved by politicians. It'll be saved by men who read books like this, then act. Buy it, read it, pass it to your sons, or don't, and explain to your grandchildren why you did nothing while their future was looted. The choice is yours. Time's up. Multiculturalism, cultural enrichment. The cause of all wars and grooming gangs, written by Conrad Riker. Buy now. Links in description.